Give LinkedIn a second. All right. We're not there yet. LinkedIn's dragging a little bit, but while we wait, our office almost blew up last night with the Chevron plant right down the street. I don't know if you saw that in the news.
No.
Yeah, the plant just a couple of feet away exploded last night. Felt like our whole house
Did
was
the whole
shaking.
plant explode, or just like is it in ruins or what?
Not in ruins, just one of the jet fuel, one of the depots there exploded. So I thought we were being attacked by adversaries, but we are live now. The Nuage office is still intact in Manhattan Beach, but we're certainly excited for everybody who's joining us today. We are going to get into it. As everybody is well aware, we got budget season, we've got SuiteWorld. We are very excited for what's going to be announced next week. We will be there. If you're attending, would like to grab drinks, coffee, let us know. We'll be there on Tuesday with quite a few of our customers having some fun. But purpose of today is to talk about budget season, right? And we're going to go through a couple of features that we believe pay for themselves. I am joined by my partner in crime, Glenn Saunders, who was in Jacksonville for that Chevron explosion, so no finger pointing. But Glenn, you want to give a quick intro to the crowd, and we'll jump into a couple of the different areas to make life a little bit easier for budget season with NetSuite.
Absolutely. Well, thanks as always for having me on, Louis. It's always a pleasure. And Glenn Saunders, COO here at Nuage. And gosh, I've been doing ERP systems for about 20 some odd years, I guess. Came from a background of accounting, so I can still talk a little bit budgets. I actually used to implement adaptive planning as well, which was, as you know, is now Workday planning, bought by Workday a number of years ago. But yeah, I look forward to diving in and chatting it up today.
Yeah, we've been working with NetSuite for so long. They used to have SuiteWorld in San Jose, and in San Jose, now I'm biased. I think San Jose was way better than Vegas because you would rent out the entire town. So the herd of NetSuite attendees would be going from bar to bar to bar. Must have driven the locals crazy, but a fun experience nonetheless. As we get into step one, which I think is just all about cutting manual processes. Hoping, Glenn, maybe you can share a couple of examples, but when you walk into or open up a NetSuite environment, what would you say are some of the most common manual processes you see teams still doing that they could eliminate almost immediately?
Yeah, I think, this not necessarily budgetary, but I think one of the big ones is automation of emails and communication from NetSuite. I feel like a lot of people, I actually did this morning for a customer of ours who was asking for a notification on like an inventory status change.
Right.
It's real easy. You can do it workflow or save search so that records are updated, emails go out, notifications get sent. A lot of times people get mired into the details of what they're doing and forget about the bells and whistles that NetSuite provides. And I think that's a big area. I also think like automation of email sending, email sending of like invoices for standard billing stuff. People still sometimes are doing that manually, don't necessarily know how. And there's some quick tricks and tools that you can utilize to streamline those processes in NetSuite to make your life a little bit easier.
Yeah, I guess in the vein of putting your budgets together for next year, often I think everybody in purchasing and implementing NetSuite believes you get to a steady stasis and you never have to pay for continuous improvement and optimization. What would you recommend as some of the critical pieces the FP&A team, CFOs, controllers need to be thinking about going into next year that are going to be top of mind for the way NetSuite is going to be working next year to really drive benefit. And any idea of how many dollars and cents you should be putting aside?
Yeah, I think, and particularly, so let me step back. Where I see NetSuite, they're touting all the AI, and I'm sure there's going to be a ton of this at next week's conference.
Yeah.
A lot of it in the first kind of tip of the spear, if you will, is all been in PBCS or enterprise performance management, right? What if scenario planning, forecasting, all of that. That's really where Oracle started investing. And we all know that's Hyperion or whatever they want to call it, but it is what it is. And, if you're looking to adopt those technologies, I think that's a strong way to go. We know those tool sets are a little bit bigger than a breadbasket sometimes from a complexity standpoint. But it seems to me it's quite evident that that's where a lot of those dollars and cents are going for the AI things. So if you are looking to really invest in forecasting and budgeting and planning, those are some areas that I would definitely be considering because I think that's just where NetSuite's going to continue to invest heavily in those areas. That's, and it makes sense too. There's some cool things. I'll shout out Causey here. They're coming out with some automated tools for account reconciliation and some of those things. And obviously it can do all the strategic finance and analysis and forecasting and, deep dive into your data to let you understand it better. I think that's where, that's where people are going to start looking. And if you're looking to internally develop, of course, you've got NetSuite now has its MCP, and they just updated it where now it can plug into ChatGPT, and it's more of an open framework to allow individual customers to go in and create their own AI model. And, we've talked about, you and I have waxed poetic about the security concerns of throwing everything public out there. I think that's something people still need to understand and be wary of where their data is going in those scenarios. So,
yeah, I won't get on my soapbox today, but in the next kind of step from a survival guide, I really want to talk about unlocking budget insights. So, a lot of finance leaders tell us they feel blind to budget insights. Yeah, it's Excel. They're always back into Excel. The budget insights that are already sitting in their system, where do you usually start when showing them the hidden data points?
So I think, native NetSuite budgets there's not much there. Let's be honest, it's a placeholder. But what NetSuite does provide is it's their source of truth for all your data. Yeah. And so understanding how you're tracking your segmentation, classes, locations, whatever it is, whatever your drivers are, having a clear picture of what you're using them for and what the meaning is so that you can accurately turn that in and say, well, we increased in this particular area this year, this particular revenue line increased, but it didn't here, understanding the whys behind it and then using that to then go into your forecast because you're a step ahead. You understand all the data that's coming out and you have good, clean insights into what's going on in the business. I think that's a big piece that a lot of times, and we've seen it, people convert from QuickBooks, they don't change their chart of accounts, they don't optimize anything, and you really kind of have to step back and be, what is the end result I'm trying to get out of this? What is the reporting functionality that I want to achieve, and how do I get there? And sometimes it does come back to you got to do some cleanup and make your chart of accounts more intuitive and user friendly for what you're trying to accomplish.
Well, I think reporting being number 3 on the list here, and I want to talk about kind of automating reporting. What do you see back to mistakes that are being made. What mistakes do you usually see companies make with reporting in NetSuite, and how do they turn this around?
Yeah, I think a lot of people that are newer to NetSuite or haven't used it come from a bigger system or come from QuickBooks. If you're in a bigger system, you typically have like report developers who have to develop everything for you. And then if you're coming from QuickBooks, it's you get what you get, and that's about it.
Yeah.
I think one of the most underused tools in the NetSuite provided tool sets is the KPI scorecards, because you can put anything on them. You can add up to 10 on those individual scorecards of custom KPIs that you've defined. And a lot of times people just think they can't edit it. It's out of the box. It is what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, my dashboard for us internally, I've got graphs and charts and just data points as well in the financials, where I've added in like 5 or 6 different key elements that I want to track for us as a business. And I think those are some areas that a lot of times people don't really focus or don't know how to do those things. And I think it gets left in the backwash of the implementation. And we're always going to come back to it, and you never really do. And I think that's the value is not unlocked in NetSuite when you go live.
Right.
The value is unlocked 60, 90 days later. And then as you grow with it, that's when you really start to see the benefits of the solution, where you can automate processes to streamline operations, like we've done with some of our pre-kitting of assembly items for organizations and things like that. So yeah.
Yeah. So month-end chaos seems to be the name of the game. And NetSuite is definitely so much better with month-end close than most applications checklists. But many companies say month-end close is chaotic. Shocker. Probably more chaotic this year than other years. But what would you say is one built-in optimization in NetSuite that can drastically cut down on the pain?
So I think one thing organizations can use is predefined checklist with activities. We use them internally. Liz has her checklist she goes off of every month to make sure all these things are booked, so that we're not having to be like, hey, did you book that yet? Did you do this yet? It's a checklist that she goes through and she gets it done. She knows, she has all that information already there. So it removes a lot of the chaos. Like, everybody's got a month-end checklist, right? That's pretty standard in accounting. This is the things that we do, and using those types of things to help drive that process. And instead of it being all in email or in a conference room meeting, you can basically notify, attach the record, see it all in one single place, inside of NetSuite, which is really, in my mind, it's not that NetSuite has to have every bit of information, but it really should for the financial pieces, because it's your financial system of record, and it needs to have all that information in there. Because why use a spreadsheet? Why use Smartsheet for a checklist when you can have it in the system? Even if it is a little bit clunkier.
It's funny in thinking most of the demos we've been on over the years, the month-end close checklist is always something that is touted as a great feature, and so many folks underutilize it. And in those meetings, controller, CFO, they're enamored, they love it, but getting them to actually follow the checklist is sometimes harder than you think.
It's always a challenge, because you get mired in the day-to-day of what you do, and you kind of forget all the other opportunities that are out there.
So in the vein of month-end chaos, if a controller or CFO is listening right now, what would you say is the first lever that they should pull to reduce close stress in Q1?
Let me think. Well, first off, if you don't have a checklist, get a checklist. And of course, most everybody does, but you never know. I think, and then look at how you do your reconciliations at month end. how you do your financial review, and what are the key drivers, and then look at those processes and define where you think you can automate stuff. And whether it be automation of certain journal entries using amortizations, which is just a simple feature, a lot of people don't know all that NetSuite's capable of. RevRec, how does it do that? Like getting all of that into a systemic process so that it can be managed, as opposed to holding all of that information outside of NetSuite that you're then using an Excel checkbook. Your bank recs are in Excel, things like that, setting up bank feeds, using some of the features. It's one of these things. I mean, like I said, you get more value as you invest more in NetSuite to a certain degree, right?
Right.
And so the more of those things that you can utilize, and closing NetSuite is really easy. A lot of times organizations where they are struggling is because they have ancillary systems that aren't connected, and they're not able to recognize revenue. They don't know what all shipped. They have a separate inventory or WMS system, and trying to get all that, into the system so it can do its job. And I'm well aware there's tons of other organizations that, use ancillary products connected to NetSuite, and NetSuite has, open APIs. It makes it fairly easy to connect. There are some nuances, as everybody that's worked with NetSuite knows. It's not ever just straightforward plug and play, but once you get all of those connected pieces in there, it's going to make your life a heck of a lot easier.
No, well said. All right. So the last one, of course, is maximizing ROI, defending your budgets. I think a given in that you're always going to have to fight for a little bit more in the budget for NetSuite optimization, especially, having been running on the system for a number of years. We want the new bell and whistle with our Salesforce or CRM, whatever it may be. I think a lot of leaders are candidly asking, are we really getting the ROI we should from NetSuite? Curious how you frame and how you like to frame that conversation with the C-suite, and in the same, I think, to the same accord, if someone is on the fence about their NetSuite budget going into 26, what's the most convincing way to show quick wins to justify the investment?
Yeah, I mean, the easiest one is I'm not going to say this, FTEs, right? So if you can cut down on AP staff by using bill capture, so then you can focus on other things. So reducing some of the manual data entry that goes into NetSuite is really a quick and easy one of where you have processes that are manual in nature that you can streamline. I think the other thing is you can only get what you invest in the system. And we always say, if you're not getting ROI, you shouldn't be doing it. And there's a reason you switch to NetSuite. There's a reason for these things. And, you got to take care of it and continue to evolve as an organization, because business doesn't stay the same. It's evolving over time. You have new people coming in, and we've seen this where, well, why do you do it that way? Well, that's the way Jim did it. Well, who trained Jim? Well, John trained Jim, and Hank trained John. You have this cascading effect of the only way of anything's ever done, because nobody's ever stopped and said, why do we do it this way? And is there a better way? I can't remember who I was talking to the other day. They're like, well, we just do it this way. And nobody's ever looked at processes. They just took what we did in our old system and customized this system to do it. And that's not what we wanted. Right. Yeah. And that's always the trap of implementation of, well, this is the way we did it. And this is how we have to do it. And it's not that, NetSuite does it a little bit differently. And a lot of times the connected system of NetSuite, the downstream implications are more positive, but it may take a little more work on the front line, but then it saves you at month end when you've got good, accurate data in the system, and you're not having to go back and forth on, well, what about this? What about that? Is that right? Going back and forth because you have built-in processes and procedures.
Yeah, I just a second, if you have not had a health check or an audit of your NetSuite system, I cannot recommend enough that you need to do that. There are so many folks we've talked to where submitting an invoice is taking us 3 minutes, and we'll look under the hood and, oh, geez, there's 1,000 scripts running behind this thing. Well, no shit, it's taking 3 minutes for the seller or the invoice to submit. So spend the time looking, because I think, as Glenn has shared, we can speed up the application. We can make it run more efficiently. We can look at business process and make your lives a lot easier. And I think that's where the ROI comes from. But you keep NetSuite and let the cobweb starts to develop, yeah, it's going to start slowing down. It's not going to be the system you desire. The system upgrades twice a year. I don't think a lot of people spend enough time thinking, hey, maybe our mindset should update twice or once a year to the way NetSuite is moving in the right direction. So I'll get off my soapbox again.
But you're right on. I mean, that is it. And
yeah,
the beauty of cloud, there was an old article written by one of the analysts, I think it was Brian Saunders, around, you used to have technical debt with older software because it's like, oh, well, you can't upgrade Windows, you have to upgrade to the server, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And now you have functionality debt because you don't take advantage of the new features and functionality that are being deployed on the cloud-based architecture. And with NetSuite, everybody's running on the same version, and people don't stop to look at what can they take advantage of.
I agree.
And that's something we see a lot, obviously.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, it's Friday. I am looking forward to a long weekend, short weekend, but I want the weekend to start.
You're gonna go to the soccer field all weekend?
That's right. I got a big game this weekend. So my 6-year-old soccer team is destined for greatness. We're prepping for the World Cup. Who knows? Maybe we'll take the U.S.'s spot. Might have better luck. All right. Well, bid everybody adieu. Thank you for tuning in. We will catch you guys in, I believe, 2 weeks with another session. We'll have a couple more guests on, make it informative. If you have any ideas, any comments, we're pretty easy to get a hold of. Please feel free to reach out. Thank you for your time, and I hope everybody has a great weekend. Glenn, anything you want to share before we tap out?
Go Knowles.
And roll tide. All right. Hopefully we beat Vanderbilt this weekend. Talk to you guys soon.